Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this tutorial today. My name is Engineer Alphonse Odhiambo. I'm a network engineer with a background in telecommunications engineering with major in computer networks and communications. And today, I'm really glad to take you through this tutorial where we will be learning more about community networks, also learning about Mikrotik devices. Maybe you might ask yourself why Mikrotik. We've realized that out of many, students or professionals that come out of university as graduates, either universities, colleges, and TVETs, there's still a gap between, what is in the ground, what is happening in the communities or in the space of industry, and what is being learned in school. Of course, universities are tied to a particular curriculum, and I want to thank the vendors that have come up with academies, to train, to add value to our students, either through the academies. For example, we have Huawei Academy, who is, doing training for our Huawei devices. We have Cisco Academy, and of course, we have Microtik and we have Ubiquity Academies, although they're not yet available uh, uh, in space as compared to Microtik and as compared to Cisco and Huawei. These are skills based trainings that not necessarily require that you have a degree certificate or you have a college or TVET certificates, but they put you in a better position to handle what the society or what the industry requires. So you realize that if you go to companies outside here, you will be surprised that half of them are actually using Microtik devices, and these are the generic devices that we don't really learn from universities or colleges. But again, if you reach there, you really find that they are the majority of the devices that are being used or adopted either by the organizations or or companies that do networking. So, what is the gap? The gap is that we get into the fold and we realize that what the company or what the industry wants you to accomplish or to achieve is quite a bit different with what we learned. So, it is very important that we take this course as serious as it is to explore different opportunities or different ways we can unlock our potential to learn beyond what is in the syllabuses. So, ladies and gentlemen, without taking much more time, I will welcome you to this tutorial. And I don't claim 100% proficiency in Microtik, but I have a good experience of over 5 years practicing and using Microtik at different levels. I've used Microtik at the core layer of the network. I've used Microtik at access layer for WISP, wireless access ISP. I've used Microtik as at the layer of network operation center, and I've used Microtik in different spaces. So I think what I'll be sharing with you is gonna be of high importance, and we'll continue learning together. And if in case you have areas of interest that you'd want us to tackle, please feel free to leave it in the comment below. Now, for you to take this tutorial, it is very important that you have the following requirements. I would require that you have a working laptop with internet adapter enabled so that we are able to, connect through your Microtik device. You need to have a router board, at least RB 941 or above. Preferably, I would prefer that you use RB 951 UI to HND. At least you have an internet because sometimes you'll want us to do live demo. You will have two pieces of working Ethernet cable, preferably Cat 6 or Cat 6E and above, and you can label them differently or have different colors. I would prefer you have an internet access with probably an IP, which we can use to set up our buckle. We also recommend that you have prior knowledge in networking, not deep, but if at least you can understand routing and switching, because this is something we are not going to tackle into details, but we'll assume you have some routing and switching background, and then knowledge on networking, working with command line, because we are going to interact with CLI or terminal. Now, this tutorial is divided into modules, and each module is specifically, uh, you know, made in a way that however much you are not uh, good enough to understand what is going on, and uh, this is your first time to interact with networking class, again, you will still be able to understand. So each module is going to major on theory and practical, but 90% practical. Um, in module one, we are going to look at the models, the physical hardware, types of Mikrotik routers that are in the space or in the market. We are going to have series, check on different series that are there, different architectures. And finally, we are also going to look at what we have, especially uh, what is required, which use case, where can we use what type of device. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me uh, mention that Microtik, as compared to other devices or other vendors, have also different models. I think this applies to most of device vendors. They have different models or different flavors of their devices. So Microtik, based on the use case or the environment of deployment, we have wireless devices with different models. We have core devices. These are super high performing devices that are be used at the core layer of the network. We have AP, access point, and CPEs. We have power related devices which can be used to power other devices like Powerbox. Microtics are also divided into series. So we have CCCR series, we have RB series, we have HAP series, we have SX series, we have cloud router switch series. And again, we realize that Microtik define or divide or categorize their switches or their devices into different architectures. So the first architecture here is ARM, tile, MPIS, SBE, we have PPC, and also we have SIMPS. We look at this when we'll be doing practically looking at the different architectures that we have and how you can check and know which architecture your device is running on. Now, as compared to our laptops or our computers, for a computer to make sense or to work as a computer, then it needs a software that runs or that gives it its functionality. For example, if we talk about a laptop which is running on Windows, then that Windows operating system is what give it its functionalities. So in this case, we say uh, Microtik also as is just a device, but it has a function or an application that makes it run. And this application of software is what we refer to as uh, router OS. So routers, Microtik routers are operating on an operating system called router OS, while switches are operating on something we call switch OS. So therefore, for us to access or to configure uh, Mikrotik devices, we have to use a router OS. Router OS is used to run on a router board architecture or firmware, and it can also be installed on a standalone PC or computer with at least two ports. And therefore, that computer will be given the necessary features like routing, firewall, bandwidth management, wireless access, uh, backhaul links, hotspot gateway, VPN servers, and very many, many more. The picture on your right shows a snapshot of a router board interface with the model being 951 UI to HND. A version of the router board is router board 3, and it has serial number. We have the firmware type, which is AR9344, and we have factory firmware, current firmware which you are running, and the firmware which is out. Again, you can use that platform or that window to upgrade your operating system or your router board to current version. Now, how maybe you are asking yourself, how can it run on a PC? Of course, you can install a router as on a 32-bit machine, which is very simple. Just download the image, burn it on a CD, or boot it from a pen drive. Then your new router will run for 24 hours without license. And then you need to turn it off to stop the timer during this time. You can try all the features, and actually, uh, you can also even use the net install to write router OS to any secondary drive you have, attach to your Windows PC, and then move the drive to your router PC and boot it. That is just the similar way you can install operating system on your laptops. Now, looking at the physical uh, formation or physical look of the Mikrotik devices or any other router or any other networking device, at least it has a port, Ethernet port, it has a power port, it has LED indicators, it must have a reset button or reset hole. It must have an SFP, not really must have, but some have SFP port, console port for management, some are just written MGT, display for current one, USB port, and maybe antenna, either flat or aerial. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the last part of this tutorial, and I would like to stop there. If you have any question, please feel free to leave the comment on your question on the comment section below. And in the module 2, we'll be looking on how to access the Mikrotik. Here we look at different tools, methods, and ways you can use to access and configure Mikrotik devices, especially router board. Thank you.